Hi Stampers, welcome to Great Inspirations. My name is Kim Tolbert and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm going to do an in-detail look at a bundle from Stampin' Up! And this bundle is a punch bundle which includes a stamp set and of course a coordinating punch. And the name of the bundle is called Sweet Songbird. And that is the stamp set and punch with which I made these cards. Here is a look at the stamp set, Sweet Songbird. And here is a look at the punch. It's the Songbird Builder Punch. And as you can see, it cuts out a bird. It actually cuts out this larger one, 2 wings, and a beak. So let me show you my little diagrams that I make. I can get a good idea of the stamp set looking at the black and white, but I also like to stamp them, the stamps out in different colors to kind of get more of a feel for the stamp set. It just helps me personally, so that's what I do. As you can see, here are all the stamps stamped out. There are 24 photopolymer stamps, and what that means is they are clear like this, and they will go on the Stampin' Up! Acrylic blocks, and you can ink them up and stamp them. As you can see, there are 2 bird images. This is the image that the punch punches out. There are feet for the birds, eyes, closed eyes, open eyes, a beak, little musical notes, a nest, a little wood plaque, which I've used on this card that you can put your sentiment on. And this you can use to stamp the string or whatever that holds the little sign, a branch, leaves, a flower, and wings, and then of course sentiments. Welcome, a little note of thanks, a little bird told me, you've got something to celebrate, congratulations, it's your special day, and so happy you're here, which would be great. Welcome, so happy you're here for new neighbors, or for a baby, excuse me, a new baby. And then here is what the punch punches out. These I just punched from cardstock. As you can see, there's the bird, the wings, and the beak. These I stamped first and punched the bird, the wings, and the beak. So let's take a little look at the cards. Let's start with these 2. These 2 cards are almost identical and kind of sort of. And there was a purpose behind that. As you can see, for this card, a little bird told me, it's your special day, and then happy birthday, that is from another stamp set. But it's your special day is from the Sweet Songbird stamp set. What I did, stamped the branch, the leaves, and the flowers, but I used cardstock to punch the bird, and then I added the eyes, and this is also stamped and punched, the beak. And then I stamped the nest on cardstock, fussy cut it, put the bird on the card, and then I put the nest over the bird, and added a little bit of that nice shiny in color ribbon in a parakeet party. Now for this one, instead of punching the bird from cardstock, I just stamped it directly onto my cardstock and then added the nest on top. But there is another option, and it involves a little masking. And as you can see, what I did here, I stamped the nest. Then I put the mask over the nest and I stamped the bird. And I'll show you that. I'm going to put this mask over the stamped nest. Oh, I need to get my bird stamp. It's on my Stamparatus. Pull it off here. Put it on a block. Get a little bit of ink. This is crushed curry. Ink the stamp. Get my mask where I want it. Situate my bird where I might want it. Stamp. And there's your bird on the nest. And of course you'll want to add, you know, some eyes and maybe either color in the beak or punch out a beak of a different color and adhere it to the little birdie. But that is another option for this card if you just wanted to stamp. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about, well, I have this punch, and sometimes punches are not all that easy to operate. It seems fairly straightforward. Oh, I've got me a punch. I'll just stamp and punch stuff out. The problem comes, sometimes you stamp it and it just doesn't fit in there. No matter what you do, it doesn't fit. So you end up having to do all kinds of gyrations to get your stamped image to fit in this punch. So there are a couple things I do. The first thing is I make a template. And the first template I made in white cardstock. And I know better than to do that. Because usually if I stamp an image to punch, I'm going to stamp it on white cardstock. And when I put white cardstock on white cardstock, I have a hard time seeing where to stamp. So I try to put it on, do my template on colored cardstock. So then all I need to do is put the template down and then just stamp each image. And right now we're just going to stamp the bird. And I'm just get the bird right in there. Do the best I can without getting my head in the way. And I think I just missed. I sure did. But you get the idea. You stamp in here. You stamp the beak, stamp the wings. Or, you know, maybe you don't want the beak. Maybe you don't want this wing. Just stamp what you want. And then open up your punch and put it in, and all the pieces should stamp the way you want them to. Except you need to make sure that this is stamped down far enough that it will fit, because right now, in order to stamp that, I would have to cut some off the bottom. But another way to do that, if that's just too much for you, and sometimes it is too much for me, I just take my images, just punch them out, put them on color cardstock so I can see what I'm doing, get it turned the correct way, there we go, and then I just sort of line up my bird, line up your image right on the die cut or the punched image, and there you go. Now, maybe the best way to do it is to use a Stamparatus. So we'll get out the Stamparatus. Get this in place. And let's see here. Let's put our stamp case under here to hold our plate up. There we go. So I'm going to take a piece of cardstock, and this is actually 2 3/4 by 4. I find it 2 3/4 wide fits in the punch really well. I'm going to just put it right there along this line. Then I'm going to put my template. Let's look at this. Okay, when we stick it in the punch, it needs to go this way. So we'll put this right at the top like that. Actually, I'm going to move this for right now. We're going to line this up along that line. And I do have grid paper in here. And I also have the mat, because this is a photopolymer stamp set. So there's the mat, and then there's the, you'd only need this if you were using the red rubber. So let's get this back in here. Get this lined up. And then we're just going to start putting our stamps right in here. There's the little wing, and then little beak. I had trouble with this one earlier, getting it in there correctly. Okay, now we'll just put the plate down on it. And pick it up. Get our paper for stamping our cardstock. Line it up right on this line. Put our magnet right here. Now let's ink up our, I'm not sure you're going to be able to see this. Let me scoot this over a little bit. Ink up our stamps. And now we'll stamp. There are our images. And let's get that punch. And you should be able to line them up. And punch. There's a wing and a wing. That one was just a tad off. And then there's the beak and the bird. So that's some ways you can kind of try to punch things all at once. What I usually do, to be perfectly honest, is I usually just stamp my images. I look at the punch. Okay, here's the bird. So, okay, I need to put it in this way. So I would punch my bird here, put it in, and stamp and punch. That's what I do. It does take more time. It can sometimes be a little more aggravating, but not as aggravating to me as, oh look, even with my Stamparatus, I missed. But you can get this down to perfection. I have. Not very good at doing it on the video, but I don't mind showing you that sometimes, yes, I make mistakes, I mess up. And that's okay. That's all part of the process. So there's just a few ways you can stamp your images and punch them. Okay, let's move all this out of the way. Now let's look at these two little cards here. And for these cards, I used the smaller bird right here. And for this one, I simply stamped him. And I added his little feet. And I colored in his beak, actually, with a Stampin' Right marker. And then, of course, we have the little flowers. And the centers of the flowers I also colored in with a Stampin' Right marker. And a little birdie told me, you've got something to celebrate. And I was going to put happy birthday in here, but I thought, no. This could be for an engagement, for a promotion, for a new baby. So I just left it, and I could add a sentiment later if I so desired. Like I said, this one was just stamped. Now this little birdie, a little note of thanks. And then inside I have stamped the bird, and I used the eyeballs as opposed to the little closed eyes. And his wing and his beak I just punched from cardstock, and the wing, this is not punchable. This image is not included on the punch, so I stamped it and just fussy cut it and added it. It's the same here. I fussy cut him. His beak is punched. I used the closed eyes. Right here, he's sitting very happily on that branch, just singing his little birdie song. But then I just adhered this to the fussy cut bird and put him on dimensionals and set him on that branch. So there's those two cards. We'll bring back the other two cards and take one more look at that stamp set. Sweet Songbird, and then the punch, the Songbird Builder Punch. And this item, you may purchase these separately, or you may purchase them in the bundle for a savings of 10%. And these two items are found in the brand new Stampin' Up 2022 through 2023 annual catalog that actually went live on May 3rd, so just about a week ago. And of course, we'll take one more look at the colorfully stamped images that are included in the stamp set and the punched images. Now, I do have a corresponding blog post to this video, and in the description of this video, you will find the link to that blog post. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, stamp happy.